Good evening, good evening. It looks like we should be good to go on my end. Let me just wait till everybody catches up to where I'm at. It's been one of those weeks here. We've had a lot going on. I have had a lot less videos going up. We've had some family-related semi-emergencies and just kind of wading through all of that. It's been like 2.5 weeks of stuff going on and still haven't escaped it as of yet. Got another appointment for my eye tomorrow, so hopefully things will go in the good direction here. Thanks for the sound checks from everybody who's hollered one out. We're going to hit on the topics here in just a moment. I got a scam. I may put it together in a video. It depends on what happens at the end of the day. I'm waiting to see, but I'll discuss what happened late last night in just a few minutes here, as well as some other scams that have been personally brought up to me, including, some of the copies of the email. Now, I'm not sharing them yet because a lot of these are just new ones. Some of them you've probably even heard of. We'll discuss. Sales trending, what's happening now. We're going to talk about how sales are going right now. I've got a pretty good consensus from a whole bunch of different people, bigger sellers mostly, as well as some that are moderate 1,000 or more listings. Not trying to ignore anybody else, but the gist on it is to get the best, the longest tracking of history, I guess, is the biggest point. So for those folks who have been on for a longer time, it helps to be able to track history over the length of your business. Are you growing? Is the economy changing? Is dates going on and this and that? All of those sorts of things I pretty much keep track of. That's going to lead to what we're going to talk about today in sales trending. Everything is out there for you to read on your own. I'm just going to put all the information together basically as to what's happening with the economy in relation to reselling in general, because there is something most definitely 100% happening with what's going on, and the trends that are going on in sales and site platforms and things like that prove it. So we'll hit on that in just a few minutes here. I know a lot of people, and I mean more so in the last, say, month or so, more people have reached out to me probably in the last month or so, probably more so than any other time that I've been on YouTube for almost 5 years, about sales specifically. So I really want to touch on that a lot here as much as possible today. We'll just do a few call outs here. I've got quite a few people in house. And hey, Mike, how you doing? For those in Patreon, I have responded to everybody's email. I'll hit some posts still tonight. There's going to probably still be 2 videos up for Patreon. There'll be another video up in part 3 for YouTube membership here as well. But the Patreon video, I've got, I was almost called out names. You guys know I hate to call out names from people in my Patreon group, but there's some postings that are some really cool items there. Something that I don't talk about on YouTube that we're going to delve into from a long time Patreon, as well as I've got a store review coming up in the second half of that one. That one will for sure be up by Sunday at the latest. I'm hoping to get that one up Friday, and then part 3 up for Sunday for those in Patreon. So just FYI, I didn't want to have anybody think I was forgetting about anybody. So that's the topics on the coverage on that. I'll try to get to everything else tonight still. Tomorrow I'm out of town at the university over some eye issues still going on. Anyway, I don't want to go into the eye stuff today, so nothing personal. Leland Langford, how are you doing this evening? Good to see you in house. Right below it, I'm going to try and whiz through some names here just so we can get in the topic. I'm going to try and keep it to about 1 hour and 20 minutes today. I'm trying to limit my time in front of a screen. I have been doing that for a while because of my vision issues. But Mr. Lowe, how are you doing, Mr. Lowe? Good to see you in house. Antiquarian Bookman, welcome, welcome. Like the name. Mr. Loftus, how are you doing, Jeff? Hopefully you are doing well. There's Aaron right below. How are you doing, Aaron? Yeah, Aaron's got a good point. Strong and consistent. I say it all the time. I try to always put a note if I post something. Work your store. Hammer your store. Work it constantly. Put in a good concerted effort for a length of time. Even if you're going through rechecking prices, rechecking titles, rechecking your photos. Something that, I've told people this in the past, and people still don't think that it really does much, but I see results. Just even mixing up the location of words in a title can mean something in it. Rotating the images. So let's say you have, this is your first image, whatever it may be, the long shot, switching up the photos even. You don't even have to take new ones sometimes. Just switch them up sometimes. And that's enough just to make some action. Your first image on eBay, and we know it for a fact because when they lost all those photos, what I'm going to tell you pretty much is proven by how eBay works, by how they lost the photos. Your main image is stored somewhere else. It's stored with the template, the foundation of your listing on eBay. eBay was able to lose all the extra images above and beyond the first one, but they couldn't lose the first one because it's tied to the listing specifically. If you change that, it's pulling a whole new one of the 3 tiers of your listing foundation. It's pulling one of those into that listing that wasn't there before as the key main image now. So, that's a big plus. And even like if you don't save your photos, download a copy of the main image for your photo, do a little crop on it, and then re-upload it. You can still save that original, just move it over as long as you haven't used all 12 images. It's actually 24 now, if you haven't noticed, but that might be enough just to push it to get a sale too, because it's going to recategorize it. It's got a new image. Even if it's technically not a new image, you've uploaded it to the #1 slot, which is locked into your listing. I've got a video just talking about why we know it works that way. So if you're interested, this is from a while ago when eBay lost 38 million, maybe it's more than that. It was tens of millions of just users' photos. Anyone passed the one. It all happened on like one night of their automatic relist, if you don't know what I'm talking about. They ended up giving people like 500 free listings to compensate for hours of work trying to catch up on the photos for those who didn't save them. But we lost hundreds in that. Not as many, luckily, since that night our stuff wasn't really ending very much and recycling through. But anyway, let's see here. Reseller Nerd, hey, haven't seen you in a little while. Hopefully you're doing good on your side. Hopefully your blog and the whole works is going well too. Linda Wyatt, how are you doing this evening? Good to see you in. Thank you, Mike. Thank you as well, Matt Jake. Good to see you in house also. Post Road Photos, welcome. I've been through Connecticut before. Loved the area up there. Mr. Hot Wheels, good evening. I got some Hot Wheels today. And I wasn't out shopping. Somebody actually brought them over to our house. Somebody who didn't know what to do with them. I gave him some money for them, but he just wanted to give them to me. I wasn't going to take them for nothing. But and there's a couple red lines in there. I didn't look them up or anything. I didn't even look at the bottoms of any of them. I didn't have time with everything going on. But I may do a video. I've got a little box of some decent looking Hot Wheels. None of the really fancy first runs or anything. It's not the first year or anything, but still, they're red lines in there. Let's see. Semper Fi 10x6. Semper Fi 1918. Things go on. That's what you got to live and bounce around with whatever happens. Let me just say this because I wish I could say it all the time, and it just doesn't cross my mind sometimes. But being a reseller, I'm extremely thankful for everything that's happened in reselling in general, and that it's a viable means to support my family. I've worked for somebody for decades, and I never had anything to show for it. Even though I worked hard, I got decent money for what it was. I made 6 digits living in D.C. area, but the cost of living and on and on and on. If it wasn't for reselling, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And I swear that's the truth. I mean, I'd swear in an open court of law any day of the week that that's the truth. That's exactly the reason why I'm right here and I can do what I want most of the time, because of the type of life job I have. So it's a life job, I would say, more so than anything. It's more than just a job. You either got to be really into it or you may not see the big picture. And again, that's why with sales trending, what's going on with sales trending, I was just responding to somebody just before the show, and it's somebody I talk to a lot, a couple times a week. We go back and forth with like long conversations. The point of it though is that sales are dipping, and my take on it is I don't mind being down a month or whatever the case may be. The end result is that your year is what matters. If I'm down 1 month and the next month it's rocking, I could care less that 1 month was down. At the end of the year, am I up year over last? So is last year's numbers less than they are this year? You want each year to be higher and higher and higher. 3 to 5% is bare bones minimum of an increase over the prior year. That's what most like brick and mortars are going to be looking for. Bare bones minimum is 3%. Bare bones minimum, just to keep up with inflation. 5% is better, obviously, or higher, 10%, 15%. I talk about occasionally stock. I talk about, the third quarter numbers and things like that as well. I wasn't going to shout out much numbers in this video because I think a lot of people just don't really care about the numbers themselves. And that's what I get a lot of feedback when I talk about quarterly reports. Unsweetened iced tea. I don't use sugar anymore, but looking at the numbers, looking at what's going on, we have to start off with what's going to affect resellers the most. One of the biggest ones is the increase in mortgage rates. Again, I know people are going to say, what the heck are you talking about? Why is that going to affect anything in reselling? People have extra income when their bills are a set amount. If certain things, an adjustable rate mortgage means that if the rates change, their rate on their mortgage could change. So they may have spent $1,200 a month in rent last year or the year before the rates went up this year when they started to climb up to seven and three quarters. I think they just raised it again. But the point is that means that now it might cost them over $2,000 for the exact same monthly payments. And that's money no one was counting on. It's not something that the cost of living would keep up with. It's not something a business would give you a raise to automatically pay. You'd be able to pay, what would that $9,600 extra a year they're now spending on the same things without getting anything more. So mortgage rates, I know people are going to say, well, that's terrible that happens. Well, there's two sides to that coin. You've got the aspect that home prices are dropping. They were higher than they've been forever. One of the places we looked at was, if we would have looked at it in 2019, would have been $110,000 cheaper just in 2019. So the prices were flying up. This is good. Here comes the good part in this for those of you who are interested in hearing this part. The good part is that this is washing out and getting rid of a lot of those people that were buying up houses just to turn around and rent them out and force you to pay them the money and stuff, trying to be a property managing, landlord. I don't know what you want to call it, technical terms on it, but a lot of folks now can't afford to pay those payments because they were hoping for a quick flip. So that's going to allow for more houses and more opportunity for those at a lesser value. But it doesn't help the resellers. So again, this is money that people weren't expecting to come out. I know gas prices to some extent, but the only reason gas prices are high right now, and I'll post a link to it or do a video talking about this because everybody's blaming administrations. I don't care what an administration is in. You should hear what the CEO of Shell openly said about why gas prices were high. He doesn't care. He worked hard, so they should be high. They're making record profits. Like all-time highest profit ever made for a company is the oil companies right now. And there's no reason for it when they're able to buy, I want to say his number quoted was $20 some odd billion in buybacks of stock just to increase the value in their own pocketbooks, while everybody else, and this is Shell Oil, this is just one of them. So all of this is eating into the extra income, the expendable income that people are going to buy. If you've looked at Amazon's numbers, Amazon was down greatly and has actually stopped projects. I might be wrong, but I want to say that there's talk or they did lay off. I don't know if it got to the layoff stage yet, but I've been keeping track of stuff like that. You've got Facebook, which Facebook Marketplace, they've just laid off, I don't know, thousands of people. I don't know the total number, but I know it was quite a few. Obviously, we know Twitter, that's a totally different story, the people they've laid off. But there's some worry in the markets. And with online reselling, for those of you who've been watching the skyrocketing prices and like trade cards and watches and comic books and things, that's tied to Wall Street. Those price increases are tied to betting on it from Wall Street. Like eBay's Vault is tied to some ways to do multi-collector ownership of high-value items, which in turn gets, it's like a stock portfolio in collectibles is what they're trying to get this stuff going. They are a little hectic and worried about what's going on with, all this kind of stuff too, is from what I can see. And that's why that's why people are laying off. That's why sales are dropped in many areas across the net. So it's not a one-off situation. It's not you, anybody out there. It's an overall one. And I personally would confirm that, yeah, that is what's going on across everybody's platform. There might be some stray person running into real good stuff that's going to sell no matter what, but overall, I would say most people are seeing some sort of decline in average sales across, daily average sales. What to do about it? That depends on your philosophy, what you do normally for stuff like that. We increase the sales and markdown price, and that usually picks it up, and that's what's going on right this very second. In fact, I was just responding to another Patreon on that exact thing. He was mentioning what he did, and it's something we do every year, and I talk about it in the past. When sales are rocking, and I'm doing, massive, it's coming in like a weekend, I might do 12, 13K. I'm going to shut off all those sales because I don't need them anymore. So I vary the amount of the percentage of sales I do on my sales and markdown. I might also, just talking to somebody else, and I might also run them on the weekends for 3 days starting on a Friday, sales and markdown instead of just the usual 2. If you've been following me, you know what I'm talking about. If not, I got videos specifically on those aspects. I can promise you that if I don't do end and sell similar and sales and markdown on some form of routine basis, my sales drop. And no matter what I want to do, they don't increase unless I do those 2 features. And I do them together as well as other things also. And again, I've talked about in many, many videos. eBay has even talked about refreshing listings and stuff. That's basically what refresh is, either a relist or end and sell similar. And if I'm going to do a relist, I'm going to do the end and sell similar instead because I know it clears off all the metadata from that listing, and I feel safer. And what's it going to hurt either way? I've tried them both ways. There's no big boost when I do just an auto relist or do an end and then relist them manually. I don't see any increase. The only time I see it is if I do end and sell similar in that way. And sell similar is the key. It wipes out every data, every tracking point that eBay has. You're not carrying any baggage from a relist hanging on to data tied to that listing. It's stuff that you're not going to, it's metadata. You can actually look at it if you want. And if you want instructions, just type in how do I see the code from your page. Anyway, it's really easy. You can hit one button and it'll expand it on in your browser. I know that's kind of rambling, but I look at the numbers. I look at the overall numbers. I look at my numbers year over year over year over year. Where are we trending? One other aspect I would say is it's picking up later and later each year. For those who get a dry spell, it seems to last longer than each year. For me, first quarter is as good as fourth quarter, or sometimes it's been even better because it's more sustained. It goes for the full 3 months as opposed to fourth quarter may only be busy month 11 and month 12, November and December. So I look at it from that aspect too. So I always tell everybody, take an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Docs spreadsheet or something, whatever you want. I don't care what it is. Write it down on a piece of paper if you really want, or print off your yearly and monthly totals so you can compare. Weekly would be better. Daily would be the best. And then compare them. If you do a spreadsheet, you can have, if you've been on eBay for 20 years like us or better, you're going to have 20 years of data. You're going to know when it dips, and you'll see a zigzag pattern through every single comparing point you have. So every November you'll see a little zigzag because the dates don't always sync up. There might be a game that might tie to something or an event or something like that that'll sway it. One year it might be this time, another year it might be that time, or school gets out at a different time, or all these sorts of things are a big factor in that, and you'll see those. But it'll always be a pattern. And the pattern for, picking back up from a summer slowdown seems to be steering later and later in these months. And again, stuff's splintered. There's more sites out there. I can't say anymore there's more resellers out there because the jobs numbers look really good. So a lot of people have given up, weren't able to cut it as a reseller. And eBay's numbers show that's a fact. Because, tens of millions of people have left as a reseller. eBay's reported these numbers in the past, and most every consecutive month. I haven't looked at this month. I don't even know if it's out yet. I have been dealing with personal stuff and haven't had a time to dig into it. But prior to today, everyone that I've looked at, that's the result. So eBay's losing sellers. I think we're getting back to a pre-pandemic amount of sellers. I think the issues are going to be related again with trending. You can look at the trends of what's been going on. You can look at the trending of businesses laying off or cutting back. Facebook is a reselling platform for a lot of people out there. I talk to people probably a couple times a week that just do, or that's the majority of the money is doing Facebook and Craigslist and stuff. They're usually some of the old timers that I personally know. I call myself an old timer these days, but that's not meant as an offense to anybody. For those, if you're listening, I've said it to you guys in person. So anyway, that's my take on it. I don't think it's going to be a permanent trend. I do think that there will be a recession if we're not already in it. If you don't know what that means, look it up, please. If you don't know how that could affect you, I think that's key. I look at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. Somebody can tell you a line or feed you a line, but the numbers and the trending data aren't lying. Just all you have to do is look at the quarterly, numbers for businesses right now. Who's reporting, who's turning out, where are they going? And compare that to last month. Last quarter. Compare that to each quarter this year, last year, and starting back in 2019. We're working back down to pre-pandemic numbers, folks. So the big boost everybody got in the last 2 years, and those of you who've just got into it, that's it. Reselling's a roller coaster. There's trends, price of comic books, cards, purses, all that stuff goes up and goes down. In the time I've been in reselling in general, like the trading card industry, it crashed once. It's crashed at least twice, 2.5 times since I've been in it. I think we're in a halfway mark here, heading towards another one because of the inflated prices in trade cards, because of Wall Street money. That's honestly what I see it. And you can look into yourself, call some brokers. I've called brokers. So I'm not just spewing out some BS here. Call around to some brokers and ask them if you can invest in the comic books and trading in collectibles. Most of them are now adding some form of that. Whether it's a high-end one, that's again why I say a bunch of people owning one single comic book. No one can actually hold it. It's held in a vault, just like eBay's kind of working towards in my mind. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what eBay's doing or anybody doing in general. It's not a collector's field for the most part. Most collectors aren't going to be holding a $100,000 comic or trade card in a vault at eBay and never holding it. The point of getting a collectible for me, for everybody that I know who's a diehard collector of something, is to hold it. Anything I buy, I hold. I don't care if me holding it or touching it might do a little bit of harm to it, because if I can't enjoy it, I don't want it. My days of just hoarding something I've long since been gone, years and years ago. And I don't mean hoarding as in a bad hoarding or anything like that. It's not meant as a disrespect. It's just, if I can't enjoy it, I don't want it. I mean, the point of me buying something is nostalgia. I remember it as a child, or it has a historical meaning to me or something like that. That's just me. I mean, I don't care what your feelings are. I don't mean that bad either, but I just mean in general, this is just how I feel. There's nothing wrong with how anybody else feels about, the same topic. But that all is, man, I'm telling you, it's all involved with everything that's going on right now. And we're just returning to a pre-pandemic numbers. So it's going to come down, in my personal opinion, just as it did in 2019 pre-pandemic, back down to volume sellers and having quantity and working your store. The confidence will come back. Elections are finally about done. I know it's not done, but, whatever happens. We're going to have to move forward and work through it if you want to continue as a reseller. Right now, the biggest problem I personally see, this is not meant as a disrespect, is people aren't looking at the long picture, the big picture of the whole aspect here. I've been through it when it was, slower. I've been through it when issues have been going on. I've been through it last year alone when eBay did some upgrades. It killed everybody's sales for weeks until we played it. Ours as well. It's not just us, but a lot of other people too. Some people were ready for it. We weren't. It hadn't affected us up until that point. So things are going to happen. There's nothing you can do to change them or stop them from happening, I should say, because we don't have any way to sway what eBay or any other company. I don't want to always just say eBay. I'm not trying to make a light on eBay, but anyway, I haven't had any issues lately. The upgrades, the page changes, I have to admit, have removed probably 95% of the errors, glitches. It's not you, it's us page views that I used to see. I used to get them all the time. I've talked about it. We've written them down, and I had 20 some odd in one day. I mean, we were writing them down for weeks just so we'd have a number. Well, that number's dropped down to maybe a couple a week at best. So, I'm not having the issues. I did have a couple issues. I couldn't print scan sheets a few days ago, and stuff like that. Usually when that happens, I just line up all my packages in a row and, quickly let her scan them, or him, depending on who's here and what day of the week it is. But, because it's usually a bunch of them, and I don't want to mess everybody up. I know I'm kind of straying away from the chat now. I just wanted to get this out of here because, as I said, I've never had so many people reach out and ask for help or ask for this in relation to specifically sales issues. Things are returning. The pandemic increase was only due to the pandemic. And that's what I anticipated happening because it's like ebb and tide. It goes up and down, and it went up for a specific reason. People want to be out in public. Things aren't as dangerous or don't appear to be at all these days compared to how it was before. There's some form. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. But the point being that I would be outside. It was a lovely day out today. I had the dog out for a while today, and she's having some issues and stuff. So a lot of people are out. A lot of people know winter's coming. They stayed in because of the pandemic and virus and stuff. So it's time to get out for a lot of people before it's too late. Up here, winter's fast approaching. The leaves are now off the trees. It's getting colder. It's going to be down in the 20s. We've had some frost days already. That means less stuff, less activity outside. It means garage sales are gone. Mostly there's estate sales have dropped. Flea markets are tied to specific indoor only that may not run every single month. A lot of the old timers that I would deal with, I will have to go to houses if they're even that type of connection with me. Many of them aren't. Only my pickers are, but so you're not going to be having some of these old timers showing up out in the winter. They don't set up outside. There's not room for all of them inside, and they don't want to mess with it in the winter from transporting in and out. So there's going to be a lot less of everything going around. That's why we always buy more in the summer, because that's the time you buy. You buy when it's cheap. You buy when it's plentiful. And then you have plenty of stuff to deal with and list. And if you can't source in the winter, who cares? Because you bought it all in the summer. That's what you should be doing. That's what big business does. They buy ahead of time. They go to shows. That's why I like the toy fair in New York, for example. The stuff that's at the toy fair won't be available in mass production for a year and 4 months, a year and 6 months. So when they show up, it's geared towards like 2 Christmases from then. That year's Christmas and then the next Christmas. That's when you see the product. So you got to know a lot of this stuff if you want to understand the whole big picture. Know the big picture is what you should know, but yeah, I know I'm rambling. Let's hop over to the comments. Oh, my feed just bounced again. Hang on, let me see if I can figure out where we're at. Hang on. Renee Duval, good evening. Amazon Seller 99, welcome back in house also. Dace, interesting name. Hey Biff, how you doing? Biff Bofo. Now all I ever think about is Biff, because the only Biff I've ever known is from Back to the Future, so that's all I ever can think about. And I just watched a clip on that actually the other day. Eric Stoltz. It was an Eric Stoltz Back to the Future thing. But hey Joe, how you doing, Joe? Howdy back at you. Real beauty, welcome in the house. Mom's Fabulous Finds. Jack S. Retro, how you doing this evening? Yeah, we'll relax. Good to see you in house. 1 Million Man, hello. I have 2 scammers try last month here. Scammers. Let's talk about scammers for just a minute here. So I do international sales. It's down to like a 10% scam rate almost at this point with international sales for us, and it's inching up there. That's the biggest issues we're having now, are international issues. We've actually cut out some more countries. Maybe I'll do a video just on that, but I've cut out a few more countries. I don't ship to. Almost tempted to stop shipping to France, which I kind of hate to do because we do sell some French items, and I do very well with a lot of the early French pieces we sell. I had an 1870s French item sell on the 7th. It was sold on the 7th, late in the evening. I mailed it on the 8th. On the 9th, after it was mailed, everything was cleared. Cases opened up. and not through eBay. They immediately went to a payment case really quick. And the reason stated, buyer had an issue with the transaction. That's it. You know, I have two calls into eBay over this, and I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I'll tell you in a minute how to easily avoid losing the money in just a second here, because I'm safe on that. I've figured out long ago what's the best, safest way. On international, at least, I should say. But at this point now, the buyer is admitted saying, yeah, I want the item. I don't know what's going on. He's trying to say that it's a PayPal issue. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But I've had other people tell me that in the past, and it wasn't a PayPal issue. It was an issue that person, again, I don't know in this specific case, but I've been scammed out of exactly the same type of, every step of the way. It sounds the same as scams, and that's what this exact same thing is the reason I don't deal with Belgium, the country of Belgium, at all anymore, because I had too many for high-valued 45 soul records. There's a huge population of people that are diehard soul 45 collectors, if you didn't know that, and they're Belgian. I'm not saying all the people are like that, but the scams that we've had were for a lot of money, and I couldn't deal with it. We canceled it out like 3 years ago, so I think the last one we ever sent to the country of Belgium. But this is the same route it's going. I can't say for sure, but this is a scam that I have personally seen that's personally affected me enough where we just cut it off. Now, how would you avoid this? Just ship through eBay's standard international delivery option. And boom, you are covered the minute it hits eBay. And I've not had, that I can think of, a single solitary one that didn't make it to eBay's facility. The minute it shows up, it arrived, and the package in question is already at eBay's international shipping facility in Chicago. So I'm safe. I confirmed it. I know how the process works. In the past, we've had some items make it there, and then some BS happened with customs. eBay gave me the money back. No questions asked. The thing I think we had to fill out a little form or something, but who cares? I don't mind. It's just like if you have an issue at a store and you do a return, sometimes they have you fill out your name and address if it's high value. So that just makes sure that the cashier isn't trying to scam and steal money and pretend that a person was returning something that they didn't. I worked in retail in my life. I've seen every scam in the book, including in pharmacies. I've seen all the drug scams and false scripts and stuff in my life. And, you know, I've been to the puppet show, and I've seen the strings like the old line in Lost or Trapped in Paradise. That's one of the lines in Trapped in Paradise. Good movie if you haven't seen it. It's an old one, but it's a good one. Anyway, that's my thoughts on some of this. I can't say 100% that this is a scam, but this is a scam that has happened and will happen. I've had other people tell me the exact same thing. Basically, they'll say it's a fraudulent charge in certain apps, like if they're using PayPal, and people still can pay with PayPal. If you don't know that, we pay with PayPal sometimes, because we get payments from other selling platforms into our PayPal account. But anyway, so they can wait till it's shipped. Wait till it hits the international option. eBay cannot pull out an item once it hits that facility. So if you call eBay and say, hey, you're in possession of it, it just got there today, this guy's opened a case up, they can't do anything. It's on its way, it's done. They're not going to pull it out. It's in a big bin somewhere. So these people know that. The people who are true scammers know that that's how it works. So if you wait till it hits eBay's facility, you can open up a case and it's still going. And if it's overseas international, the arrival date is past the date that you have to. I've got till I think it's the 20th of this month to solve this case. Again, it might even be, I might be forced to do it sooner, but they're aware of what's going on. I did call them twice on it. So basically, it's telling me it's not going to arrive. And I know it won't, because I've sold enough items to France to know that it takes like 5 or 6 weeks. So it's going to be in the mail. It's already processed. There's nothing that I can do to pull it out of the mail. And then I'll be forced to refund the money. This is how the scam works. You'll be forced to refund the money because it hasn't arrived yet. eBay doesn't care if it's pending, if that date states, in the case, because they're claiming whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter what the claim is. It's not going to stop it from happening. Now, I can challenge it because, again, I've got the eBay International Standard Delivery and get my money back that way. So the only way, if you're doing through the U.S. Postal Service, you may not get your money back. If you're doing through ship cover or whatever that is, the other insurance option offered on eBay when you're going to do your shipments, I think it's ship cover or something like that. I never try to use that one. They're going to take a percentage out, so you may only get 80% or something, maybe even less than that of the total amount. And there's caps and all kinds of things on that, so you got to keep that in mind. The items, even with shipping's $56, so I'm in that $100 guaranteed, eBay standard international shipping option full coverage basis, basically. And they've never steered me wrong on it. I've used global shipping to be covered just because of that. I don't ship. The folks from Belgium can ship and buy from me from global shipping program. That's the only one that I have. So I'm covered the minute it hits eBay. And as I said, I've never had one not get to eBay. And eBay's been very good on it. I've never had a case where it was lost once eBay got it where they didn't shell out the money. So I'm not trying to scam anybody. I'm not trying to tell anybody to scam anybody. But that's the scam. That's how the scam works, if you didn't know it. The date is passed. You have to respond by a certain date. And if you play those dates right, it wouldn't arrive till after I have to refund them. That's the key. Now, again, you can challenge it. But how you can't do a return. You can't force them to do anything. You can't request the money from them because you have no financial connection after the sale's done or after case is closed. So they'll get it. They won't have to pay you. There's nothing that will happen to them at that point. eBay, may, again, refund your money if it's the first time it ever happened. But if you're not using eBay's international standard, shipping options or global shipping in general, you're not going to be fully covered. That's just my take, because there won't be any arrival scan. Let me touch on one more thing to help avoid scams also. The eBay standard envelope rate, where it's just a tiny little barcode on the bottom. You won't even see it. You'll ship it off with the label or whatever. I've never used the option. I won't use it. But there's a way big chance of fraud. If you send something valuable thinking you're just going to save a few cents or whatever on shipping options, it only covers you up to $20, first of all. And secondly, it's not a postal scan. Those standard envelope rates, like for a baseball card or whatever, is not a post office official scan. You can't go down to the post office, give them that number, and have a result. It's only for eBay. So that means, too, that they don't have to scan it or do anything else, and your delivery scan, may not show up. I've heard the rates are as high as 30 or 40% for some folks. I don't know if that's true. I personally haven't seen it because I have not used the service. I will not use something that can't guarantee me an end scan to save me from bad feedback. I could care less about a $20 card if it gets lost or whatever and refund the person. I don't want the feedback. I don't want a bad feedback because something didn't arrive. And that's worth the loss to me, personally. I don't know about everybody else, but my feedback is 100% the biggest important factor in what I feel success in my business will be. If I don't have that good feedback, it could ding some of your success because somebody else with better feedback selling the same items will get the service over you. I'm very serious about protecting, that kind of stuff for the well-being of my family and medical conditions for one of my kids and stuff like that too. So anyway. Hey Marty, Jiminy Flip It, another YouTuber in house. The print ad guru now is what I would say at this point. Hopefully you're doing well, Marty. One of these days, I've got a few people. I've seen some of the files I've shown in person at a couple places I've met up with a few people, probably one or two people in house that I may have ran into in person, but I've got a lot of videos that we've shot and I just haven't. I figure one of these days I'm going to get to it, but everything just keeps happening. We've had one stumbling block after another one, some medical concerns, and Jinx, my oldest dog here, we've had some issues with her, and she's not doing very well. So, we lost the other one not too long ago, so it hasn't been a pleasant time this past few weeks. Where are we at? Yeah, if you're enjoying the conversation, please hit that thumbs up. I got 222 people in house. I got 71 thumbs up here. Always like to at least get to that 100 mark before the show ends. Still got some time for me to ramble on and bore some of you, I'm sure. I'm going to pop back to numbers and stuff. I'll give you some other scams as we go through here. I'll kind of intermix them in here, so we're not going to bore everybody with one long conversation on something that may not be of interest. Stitch it. I would imagine you maybe so. I'm probably going to have a video. I've got a few clips that somebody else pulled for me here, the wife or the kids. I don't remember who pulled them, but there's some other things that I've done in the past that we've made money on. I don't do some of them much as I used to, but they were always viable and they always made money. Just some of the things we do now and some of the connections I've got make us more money. So if something makes me more money, I usually put some of the other stuff in back burner. But I'm going to shell out a video here on other things. I've been debating on, YouTube offered me, they've got where I can bring somebody in on a show now through YouTube, and it's through the phone, so I don't know if I really want to do that, but I've been trying to get something together with Benny over at Tenacious Toys as well, too. Tentatively, we'll have a Christmas toy episode, and you'll hear from someone who deals with the big companies in person. He's been on here before. He's always been a good guy. Shouldn't just say decent. He's always been a really good guy and stuff, and anyway, he goes to the New York Toy Fair, so he would be seeing the hottest toys before most majority of people. So I'll just shout that out there. But where are we at? Stephen Holden, how are you doing, Stephen? Black Crystal Dice, good evening as well. Good to see you in house. Guten Abend, Danke, thank you and good evening. Keep calm and list on. I would say the exact same thing. To be honest with you, and I believe it or not, I get hate mail for not attacking eBay as much as I used to. I don't have the issues I had before. Again, people think that I just go out and try to dog on eBay or Amazon or whoever I'm talking about. That has nothing to do with it, and it's aggravating to some extent that people just don't get the big picture. If something's going on, I have a problem with it, I'm going to say something about it. But eBay has improved greatly on the glitch aspect, which was one of my biggest pet peeves. Again, I was calm and cool and collective with the scam issue, the potential scam issue from today, because I shipped it through a means that no matter what, eBay already got it. So no matter what happens, I get my money back. So I would rather have it go through and this not be a scam. First thing you should always do is block the person immediately. Just FYI. You can always unblock them later. Just block them immediately so no other purchases can come through. That's the very first step you always do, no matter what's going on with an issue with another seller on eBay, to be truthful with you. Something you've got to do. You've got to do. Brian Smythe, how are you doing this evening? Well, thank you very kindly. Try to be helpful. Depends on what you sell. For some folks, I may be totally out of whack and they think I'm crazy and sell stuff that'll never show up anywhere in the world. But if I can find thousands of something, there's no way on earth that it's not out there. You know what I mean? And I constantly replenish my stock. So, JH, how are you doing? Good to see you in house as well. I'm going to try and get down if there's Dawson 6211. Well, thank you very kindly. Impressions are up. I did a video on how to get more impressions and views. Now, that should equate to more sales, but again, I have no bearing on what it is. Some of the questions brought up in that video, it's just from a few days ago. You can look at it. It's in the last week or so. Increase your impressions and views, which I promise you it will if you do what I say in that video. Everyone I've talked to, it's the same results. This isn't some magic that I created. It's just based on how eBay works these days. There's ways you can do things. But somebody mentioned one of the screenshots I was showing from another seller's listing was would that be considered spam? I want to address these because I've got repeated questions on this, so I might break off some of this video tonight in a segment so we can adjust it talking about specifics, so to answer just those questions. But with the issues with those that screenshot, and again, maybe I'll show it in a video so you can see what I'm talking about, but with that screenshot of a ton of characters, I think it was main characters, is that going to be considered spam? Yeah, I guess it could be, but there's no... I looked on eBay. I can't find anywhere where their item specifics, they tell you word for word to fill out as many as humanly possible. Yeah, they should relate to it, but one Marvel character... Let's say you're listing a Spider-Man comic book and there's all kinds of villains that he wouldn't combat, or X-Men characters, or Black Panther, whatever, stuff that's not in that issue. Is that spam? That's a more drastic approach to adding all those ones that were shown in that video specifically. Sure, it's more drastic, but Are there comic books that have all those characters together at some point? Yes. So it's going to depend on, semantics on it. Is it technically spamming or is it not? Because they are related to each other. They're from the same universe. I personally don't see an issue with it. I'm not eBay, so I personally don't see an issue with it. If that gets you viable views based on how eBay has been, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Could they be removed real quickly with an Excel, a CSV file download, comma delineated? Yeah. So if eBay says no, I can just go download those, whatever I've changed it to, and instantly just cut and paste a better, item specific to it if I had to. So again, it's an easy correction if eBay says it's not, in my opinion. So I don't have a problem with adding similar things. Sometimes a title, I might add a word, and technically it's not the item, but it's directly related to the item. I'm not insinuating that it's that item because I'm clearly stating later on, but keyword-wise in the title, there may be a word in there that isn't 100% that item, but it's really tied to it, and anybody who sees that word I add in will know exactly the meaning because that's what they're looking for. It's like I use a Weeble example quite often because we've got probably one of the biggest ones in the country collection-wise. There are many differences in, how do I want to go with this? Geez, there's just a lot of differences, I guess, with individual items. So there's no set mold for anything, I guess. So it'd be hard-pressed. Some Weebles, I don't know. I guess the Weeble, a lot of people may not even know what a Weeble is. The point is there's a lot of different variances and things, and there's no cookie-cutter means to say that this person's spamming or that person's spamming when there is some tie-in or relationship to an item. That's my take on the comic books. But on a side note, the majority of the item specifics, you won't see all those with other items. Just filling them all in and adding ones that aren't required, that are just recommended, will help you. There's a limit. I think you can only do like 30 different item specifics on any listing, because I've gotten a warning before I had too many item specifics, and I've had other people tell me the exact same thing. So that should hopefully answer that one on item specifics. Again, I've had dozens of people ask this. The other one is, well, won't that open you up for a item not as described case? It depends on what you're listing in there. If you're stating it's not a comic when it is, you want all the main ones to state the correct thing, obviously. And I'm not telling you to put something that's incorrect. There's some inferences, there's some relational keywords or item specifics that may be essential to a listing. Here's a good example: a 1947 Superman Christmas card, using the word Golden Age comic. If the card has a comic image on the front, is that spamming for me to say Golden Age Superman comic when I enlist it in the comic book section? It's not technically a comic book. It is a comic on the cover, because that's what most of those early 40s ones are, at least the ones that I've had and seen. Am I spamming it? Somebody might say, yeah, but it's technically, in all aspects, a comic. It's a comic strips in the Sunday pages. Are those comics? Yeah, they are, and there's a section for them. Is a plant or a Christmas card, a Valentine's card, a birthday card with a Superman or X-Men on it, are those comics? I would say yes. That's my take on it. So again, it depends on what wording you use. If I'm going to put something in there to get more views as an item specific, I want to make sure it relates to it as close as humanly possible, and that it's dead on, and that it's not going to cause an issue like that. That's something you got to think about. In just a normal listing, you could put in something that's wrong or miss something. So, I mean, you've got the risk factor. You missed a stitch in an armpit on a shirt. I heard that one just from the other day. Or you didn't look close enough at a piece of pottery. I try to take a flashlight, honestly, if I know I'm going to be looking at pottery. Because sometimes in a light at a thrift store, or even in a shed of somebody's house, or a storage facility, I'm meeting somebody in their storage unit or something, the lighting's not great. And a bright light on something will show those hairlines. If it's not crazed, like a pottery piece isn't crazed very well, the crazing isn't shown, and it's just lightly. Sometimes that light on it at the right angle will show off something. You might notice the hairline crack. Usually I thunk it really lightly to hear that tone if it's like a vase or something, because it'll make a different sound if it's got a hairline in it, even if you can't see it. At least that's my personal. I've had so many vases and things. I know that's a little off topic. Let's switch back to a scam that's going around trying to snag in new people. And I've heard hundreds of these scams. I've seen other people talking about them too. Where they'll send you like a off-site link or something, trying to get you to go over there to finish their sale, or send them this or send them that. Nobody should ever leave eBay to do anything for any sale ever. Don't ever respond with an email address or even try to put one in there. What you also should do, and I know people say, oh, don't report everybody, blah, blah, blah. If somebody tries to send you, instead of putting the dot in, instead of like .com or something, what they'll do is they'll spell out the word dot, D-O-T, then a space, and then C-O-M, maybe sometimes with parentheses, trying to trick the system. They try to hide, instead of the at symbol, they'll put at, and try to get you to send stuff or respond those ways. I've had them sent to me with people trying to get me to sell them items directly instead of listing them next time I get them and all this other stuff. I've seen all the little scams and stuff. I report those every time. People will try to get you in trouble to get you shut down in the past. I've seen people... I'm not going to mention any names again. I don't want to mention a name. I was getting close to thinking about putting a name out there. But there's people who will do that too. So never, ever complete any sale, even if you're trying to buy something, any sale off of eBay platform. People can get competitors shut down like on eBay by conning you into doing this and reporting you. And again, you're doing it through email. So watch out on stuff like that. That is a scam that's going around. They're trying to get people to contact them off platform and blah, 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 blah. The minute you type in any information or something, or give them a PayPal or anything else like that, you could be gone off eBay for good for violating the user agreement. I follow the rules, and I recommend everybody following the rules. If you follow the rules, most of the scam issues that you would run into, not all of them, there's still going to be some out there, but the majority of them, you'll be saved by following the policies. Like using global shipping for items under the value they cover. It always, or international standard delivery, I should say nowadays, but it always covers it. Just take out the extra insurance if you're sending something over a certain value. Get the signature confirmation if you don't want to be scammed by that. Even in some cases where the item shows it was delivered, if it wasn't their signature and they can prove, hey, this isn't me, I was home all day, I never signed it. On and on. There's a ton of different reasons why that you can still lose on cases and stuff like that. They could just go ahead and open up a case off of eBay first without opening up a case on eBay. They could open it up with, again, what we had happen to us, where somebody opened it up through their payment processor, whether it's their bank, whether it's their charge card company, whether it's PayPal or Apple Pay or whoever they may be using. If they open up a case against whatever the sale price is, even if it didn't go through eBay, you can still lose those. So, and in some cases, I've even seen where they opened up a case on eBay, they didn't win that way, so they just went ahead and opened up a chargeback. And whatever they produced was enough for the charge card company to keep the money. The charge card company or the bank is usually who determines who gets to keep the money and who doesn't, not eBay. eBay is at the will of the processor companies, the payment processings. Even though they have and there's rules and policies that they have to agree to be in that system, in the network of processors, and with Visa and MasterCard, Discover, all that stuff. All that stuff is tied into all that. So again, follow the rules if you want to be covered the best for scams. With the item not described scam, that happens a lot, especially with clothing, because then they can get a free return on it, they could have worn it, whatever the case may be in that aspect of it. As long as you do things like 30-day free returns, I know people say that doesn't mean anything, but you do get extra coverage from all this. As long as you follow the procedure, as long as you force them to open up a return on it, hopefully that they did open it up as an item not as described, you can be covered from any losses by doing that as well. They won't be able to leave negative feedback. You'll be surprised at how many of those scammers will still leave you negative feedback even after they scammed you. So again, feedback is far more important, in my opinion, than worrying about a few extra bucks. If I'm in doubt or I'm worried about something, I always do signature confirmation on the item. Always. I always do extra insurance. I don't necessarily go back and say, hey, you need to pay me something extra for insurance. If it's a high value item, I don't mind losing $10 if I have to. If it's $1,000 item and I need to cover it enough, or 14, whatever it was the last time, I don't mind losing that $14 to save myself. I'm a very strong person to recommend insurance of every type if possible for your business. I own a BOP for my business, and we have for the longest time, and it covers every single dime of my merchandise, every single dime of my electronics, my shelving, the building, pretty much everything that's related to it is all on that policy. An act of God, there's only a couple things that I would not be covered for. An act of God would be one of them. Technical terms, that's one of the few cases where they do use that terminology. So, that's again something I would always recommend. So I don't ever mind, and I'm never going to be mad if I spent it and I didn't use it. I would rather have it and not had an issue and spent the extra bucks on it just to do it. Again, that's up to you. That's an investment well worth the effort and the money. My profit margins are just fine, even doing stuff like that occasionally. I don't care. It's not going to hurt me. I'm not going to even think about it or blink an eye. Just know that I'm covered, and that guy's not going to scam me, or gal's not going to scam me, and I'm covered. If it gets lost in the mail or something, the post office is responsible for it. They do have GPS on boxes when they're delivered to a house, so if they can't produce one that shows where it was delivered, blah, 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 on and on and on, and it wasn't delivered to my house, I had a package tracked down by the best post office employee I've ever had. She's awesome. She's getting $100 this year again, so anyway. It would have been lost. The eBay was stating the item it was a book for the wife. It wasn't anything. It was a cheapo book, but it was a vintage one that she's been looking for. Showed it delivered at 11 something in the morning. My mail wasn't even here yet that day, so I knew it was delivered to the wrong address. Handed her, if you get a chance, could you please check this out for me? The next day, again, and it was delivered on another route. The person who delivered it should have known better, but they've got so many change of hands and new people there. It's always nice to have an awesome mail person. I'm not going to call her name. I don't want any favoritism or anything, but she's awesome. She does a very good job. I never ever worry when she's on my route. Let's pop back to the chat here as I'm trying to get to some here, and I know I haven't gotten very far. Let's get down to some. Jackie Jack Enterprises, welcome. Jabroni Choed. Heard of any luck of sellers getting out of below standard lately? Had 2 items go to same customer, didn't respond to my messages and went to eBay instead. Now I am below standard. No help through support. I was going to actually, and I filmed a little segment, but I just never finished it. Why do people list 99-cent items on eBay? If the only way to get yourself out of it is time or to dilute the amount of sales you have that have bad issues with them. And diluting them, a lot of people will list a whole bunch of items for 99 cents out the door, or 99 cents in shipping, just get rid of some stuff, just to get a whole bunch of positive feedback, better feedback, to dilute the amount. Because let's say you only sold 100 items and you've got 2 bad ones, that drops you down to a 98%. If you sell a whole bunch more items, that's going to it'll be down to only like 99% really quickly if you sell a whole bunch more items. If you sell 200 items now, you get a whole bunch of cheaper items, you can get out of your 3-month hold on it, because it's 3 months usually you get that off to let it fall off. The only other way to get out, again, list a whole bunch of 99-cent items, really cheap items. Don't necessarily have to be 99 cents, but that's usually what most people that I've personally talked to. And I've recommended this to some people. If you've got the merchandise, you don't have much into it, you can blow out some items for 99 cents and get the ratio of negatives to positives down. That's what you want to do. There's other things going on with the 99-cent sales, which I'll put out in a video one of these days, but that's the best aspect of using those 99-cent sales. There's nothing illegal. There's nothing violating any policies on eBay. You're welcome to sell items as cheap as you want if you really want to on eBay, but I'm not giving away the house. I'm not saying you give away the house when you do that, but you need to lower the percentage of bads to goods. And the only way to do that is to sell a whole bunch more again, or wait for them fall off at the next evaluation in 3 months or whatever the case may be, whatever your your evaluation days are. So that's the best way to alleviate, is to change the ratio. Change how many negatives to positives. The more positives you get, those negatives will be worth far less. So instead of having 100 listings or 100 items sold and 2 of them making a 98%, if you have now 200 items that have sold in a short time frame, it's only a 1% loss to your store. So now you're 99 instead of 98. You sell, again, that's the gist on it. You sell a whole bunch more items. If you're already selling items, you may be able to get out, decently quick, and adding some 99-cent sales into there may double the speed at which you can get out of the below standards. That's what we did when in the past we've listed some cheaper items that would sell really quickly, even if we didn't make much of a profit, because the rating standards, this was years ago, but the standard wise, we didn't want to get dinged. I didn't want to be hurt. I didn't want to be in eBay jail or anything else like that. So I did anything I could. Again, 99 cent or whatever the case may be are great ways to do it. Or run a 70% off sale on some junk. Just watch where your profit margins are. You can still make a profit in doing this if you do it right. It doesn't have to be 99 cent, but that's what a lot of people do. They'll just get rid of some stuff that's only a couple bucks a piece or whatever the case may be, sale price for 99 cents. So they might lose a little bit of profit, but they're still at least breaking even by the time you figure out the fees and stuff. So that's the best bet on that, to be honest with you. And that's I've done that. I've honestly done that. I've changed the percentage ratio, and I did it very quickly comparatively to waiting. It cut down my time in at least a half. And again, this has been a decade or plus ago, but it's always something that people have done. If you don't know that, that's a little insider, I guess, for those who weren't aware that you could do something like that. It's the ratio that's hurting you. I could have a negative and sell a whole bunch and it not even lower me down to below 100. If you don't know that, that could actually be a thing if you've got so many selling in that same length of time that it's a point, they're rounding up basically is the gist on it. And we've had that happen once or twice before where we were still at 100 even though I had a negative. So the main image shows me at 100 even though technically there was a little bit of a ding off of it from one. It was cleared off, very quickly, but hopefully that answers that, at least somewhat. Evermore Sales, welcome. Good evening. Glad to have you in house. Well, thank you very kindly as well. Jabroni, I'm not sales-wise. Again, sales trending is down. Sales trending is returning to pre-pandemic 2019 sales. So that big increase that a lot of folks got is now down. Even in some of the items that I sell, some of the sales are overall down. I expect it this month. I have last year in October was terrible because of the update. We picked it back up this month, so it's going to be a wash. It'll be a little higher than at the end of this month in my basis. Again, we're doing projections day by day. I would say at the end of this month, I'm still going to be up. We're running sales. I increased the percentage of sales. From 34%, I upped it to what were we 36. Now I'm at 40, and I just increase it. That's what I do. I got my 3x structure for pricing, so I'm not hurt. I'm still getting more. I'm still making my percentage of profit I want. So I have a 3x built in, and that bottom end on that is still 3 times the value of whatever the item is. So I don't make anything less than that. And most of the items I get are pennies into them. Literally pennies. Just my take on it. Let's see where we at. Reselling Nerd, it's a slow roll out from what I understand. I don't think every seller has it, but we have it. I'm almost positive. The wife said that this morning. I haven't looked. I haven't listed. We've had some medical issues going around, so I haven't had a chance to really do much. I have a bunch of stuff ready to list, including a lot of cards and buttons and stuff, but from what I see, it is already activated on a bunch of people's, including us at this point. That way you can do a video and all kinds of other stuff included into those totals there. Let's see here. Melanie Kimball, good evening as well. Good to have you in house. A deal finder. Yeah, Hot Wheels are pretty good. I don't mind buying Hot Wheels. I do like the red lines the best. Obviously, some of the treasure hunts and stuff I've done really well with, but there's some newer ones. We found a couple I don't know technically what type of prototype they were, but they weren't any released mass ones. We found in just lots before recently too. So there's some decent stuff out there still. Let's see where we at. Mike's messy room. Well, thank you, Mike. Very kind of you. William Hankey. Well, thank you very kindly. Finicky Fox, okay. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing? Michelle, hopefully you're doing well. Good to see you in house for sure. Vintage Vanya, how are you doing as well? Yeah, I'm terrible. Sometimes I look at the words and don't even call it. If you're enjoying the conversation, I got 227 people in house, 113 thumbs up. We're rolling on just over an hour on. Let's see, where are we at right now? Hey, Kelly, how you doing this evening? If you think people aren't spending now, give it a few months. It's going to get worse. Meta laid off. Yeah, I'm not so worried. Zuckerberg missed the boat. I don't know what he's thinking. The whole meta universe idea. I personally think they changed the name to avoid some of the lawsuit issues and the harvesting of data with Zeke Analytical or whatever it was. I don't think, to me, that personally doesn't bother me at all. In honesty, I think that's them messing up. His problem with Zuckerberg is that he expected this to continue, the increases. He's young. He doesn't get it. He hasn't been around. Every time there's a big, massive increase, it only lasts so long, and then it dies down. That's why I say comic books have come and gone. Trading cards have come and gone. Purses, watches, video games have had their stride, and prices have died and increased and died and increased. There's trends come and go all the time. So I'm not concerned about the meta. Maybe for those who saw on Facebook, it could be of issue. That I will say that. To me, Facebook's still the Wild West, and I'm just not interested in messing with it. I haven't even done, I've done 4 whatnots, and people still, why aren't you doing whatnots? Because I wasn't making enough money to make it worth my while. Everybody wanted me to give it away, and the majority of everything I sold on those 4 whatnots, I could have got probably double that on eBay in an appropriate amount of time. The whole aspect on that just turned me off. The aspect that I was told I could ship the second item for $1, and then they changed it so you couldn't. I was told they had medium mail when I started. You couldn't. I know they have medium mail now, but they even reached back out to me and gave me in the thing so I could get on some promotional thing. But I didn't even respond. I'm not saying I won't do one here, but maybe, I don't know. It's just not. I make so much more money doing something else. It's immediate. I'd rather have 3 times the amount of money in 2 months as opposed to immediately taking a 2/3 reduction in the value of my property. I don't, people are buying off of whatnot, turn around and resell on eBay now, just like on high bid and stuff. So I guess it's just not me. How are my collectibles doing, JH? I'm fine with my sales right now. I wish they were a little higher. I'm not going to complain though. I'm grateful for what I have. Again, my sales are right in line with how I've been running for the last I don't know how many months. They're not super high, but on the average, I'm going to be up from last year a decent considerable amount. So I'm not bothered. I'm looking at the big picture. If I'm down here or there, I don't care. My 10-12% year over last is fine with me. It's actually higher than that right now, but I might end up, if it's not as great of a ending fourth quarter, I might end up only 10, 12, maybe 14% up over last year. And I'm fine with that. That's a considerable amount. That's above and beyond reasonable 3 to 5%. That's above and beyond any cost of living issues or anything else like that. That's above and beyond any banking interests or anything else like that would affect anything else we've got going on. Overall, my money has been doing. The last 6 years have been fine for our business. Administration in office or not, it doesn't have any bearing on what we do. I don't pay attention to that, in all honesty, not anymore these days. But the point is that knowing your business, paying attention to it, looking at the big picture, not just looking at the microcosms of dips and dives. It's just gonna stress you out unneededly. Look at the big picture. Compare your entire year at this point to your entire year last year at this same point. You can do it easily on eBay, So that's the point. Break down the numbers, compare year over last. If you're new, start writing the numbers down, go back, fill them all in, and keep track of them all the time, and you'll know where your business is going. Every corporate entity in the country, every small mom and pop is looking at year over year over last. They're comparing last year's to this year's every month, every day, trying to figure out which direction they're going. I can tell you every brick and mortar I've ever worked in has done that. Everyone. And as a regional, we did it even to a bigger extent and tracked them by the hour in the store level. And that was filled in reports every day, so I could look at what hour was good for a store, why wasn't it good when it was good every other week before then. I mean, these are all, you got to see the patterns in all the information that you have to be able to better judge on what direction your business is going. I don't care what anybody else says. That's the truth. That's how it works. That's how big business does it. That's how Wall Street does it. And I'm going to take an example because they're making all the money. Why wouldn't I do it the way that works for them? Because it works for me too. I don't stress out about this little number or that little number or anything else like that. I can't control where the ship's going at this point. I can control how much I get out of that ship by running sales or working my store on a daily basis and constantly working it. Again, I'm in this for the long run. I'm not just getting a few bucks out here and I'm just going to go somewhere else later on. I'm in this for the long run. I'm not going anywhere with this. I'm not leaving this industry. This is what we're doing. So again, I'm not worried about a week here, 2 week there, or whatever the case may be. My full year is projected to be up a decent amount where it's not going to, I could care less if I'm a little slower now. It means I got a little extra time to play around and figure some other stuff out with the business, maybe expand here, expand there. It gives me a little more time. I'd rather have the slow dollar than the quick dime any day of the week. Can't do that unless you have volume up. I don't have high value items for the most part in my store, and I don't care to have them because usually there's more scams with them. Usually there's more issues with them. I pick items. I don't sell a lot of electronics anymore, and when I was selling a ton of electronics, I was disassembling and selling parts and pieces of the electronic units that we got in because the return rate was almost zip compared to selling the whole unit. So anything I can do to eliminate the risk of a scam is what I'm going to do, even if it means I make a little less money. Again, you have to weigh your... Corporate America does a cost-benefit analysis. Would it be better to do something ahead of time to alleviate the issue, or would it be better at the end of the day to let the scams happen because I'm still going to make more money even with the scams? You gotta play that out there. Risk assessment on your business. I after somebody we know and have been doing business with lost $3,000 on some electronic equipment, and eBay didn't help them out at all. We stopped selling them. It was somebody I knew personally, and I know they stopped selling on eBay in general because of that. They gave up on eBay because eBay allowed them to be screwed $3,000. They had a long-time account. The other person who was screwing them over was just on. He only had a couple feedbacks, and they sided with the other person. Anyway, I'm not getting into that story alone. I eliminate the risk of scamming as much as possible. I'd rather sell lesser valued items and remove the risk to the business. Again, it all comes down to feedback to me. I don't care what everybody else thinks on that. That's what it should be. That's why every business you go to, every company has a 5-star system to rate your experience with them. And that's why eBay has it. I remember when the company started pushing out 5-star. That's what the basis is. I'm not saying 5-star is good, but the whole aspect of your feedback meaning more than anything else is I swear by that. Treating your customers, with respect as well, helping them out. If somebody buys 2 different items, don't combine them and not refund the money. Refund the extra shipping. Don't make somebody ask to refund it. Always be the person who does it ahead of time while you're shipping out. All those things can help you out as well, Let's see here. Jabroni, Industrial Auto, AG Electrical is my account. This sector has stayed strong. Yes, it has. In fact, some of those categories, specifically automotive, have increased. The again, cost of living and all that stuff. The cost to buy those items. There's more incurred by the companies to make them. Not enough to warrant the higher increases they're doing. But that's what's going on right now. So those categories are usually fairly high. Now, electronics will probably dip after Christmas for a while, I think. I think people, if the recession gets worse or it turns into a full-fledged recession, people aren't going to be buying any extra essentials. Parts and pieces of electronics might be up really high, so they can afford to repair them as opposed to buying a new one. I can tell you right now for sure, if you've watched the report, 75% of people who bought a house during the peak from the end or the beginning of 2020 through the beginning of 2022, that 2 year span, 75% of them all have buyer's remorse. Every report says that, not just Fannie Mae and the usual Wall Street and stuff, Wall Street Journal. Every platform, every site that looks at mortgages and looks at, buyer satisfaction in that industry says the exact same thing. 1 in 4 people feel like they're okay with them being purchasing that house. So that means that all of that was overpriced because of the pandemic. That's exactly right. Not supply and demand. It wasn't like a bunch of people scheming together to raise the prices like that. The people who were buying up houses just to rent them out for a high price, those people helped to ruin it. But, there's always those sorts out there. They're out of the business pretty much now. They're in trouble probably now if they haven't rented those places out. And if the rent in the area is far less than they're trying to get now because of the way that everything's going with the actual overall drop in price in the houses, they may be able to rent them out, but they may be renting those houses out for less than they owe on a monthly basis. When you flip houses, we've flipped houses a couple of times. You got to be on the ball with that. You got to know where your numbers are more than anything else. Interest rates and first payment due, and you got to have enough money to flip, get the house back on the market quick. The minute you have possession of it, you already have to have the funds. You already have to have what you want and ready to go and to start working on it right away. So you usually got a 45-day wait before first payment on a mortgage is due. So as long as you can have some structure and almost done before that first payment's due, you may be able to get it rented, take their down payment from the renter first and last in the first month, and use that to pay the first month on the house, and then boom, you're all set. But that's the philosophy. I know people have done that. We've messed with that too. I know that's off topic, but it's all interrelated. All that stuff's interrelated. It all affects reselling. The housing market is affecting you right now, everybody. It's affecting us right now because people have half as much available extra funds for some folks. Electricity's higher, water, sewer's higher, garbage is higher, electricity costs are higher, gas is higher. LP, natural gas, your house heating gas is higher, and we're going into winter, so everything's higher. That's the companies doing it intentionally. There's no reason gas is the price it is, other than the folks want to be able to buy back $27 billion of their own stocks, just so they can artificially increase the value of their own pocketbook. The Shell CEO openly admits it. I saw it. I watched him say it word for word on a German broadcast television, so I know what he said. And that was just recently. They're talking about the last quarter numbers. So I have no faith in them trying to help out the people. They're all out for their own pocketbooks. So this is all going to return, in my opinion, back to 2019. It's just going to be like the pandemic didn't happen for a lot of people. So again, flooded categories, even though there's millions of people that aren't selling anymore, there's still quite a few that are selling in flooded categories, and on and on and on. It's going to be important that you have either unique items, which the majority of what we sell are, or you have fast and in-demand items in these tougher times for those of you. So if you're just buying something that you're going to get $8 out of and you got $2 invested into it, that's not going to keep you rolling very far. Unless you've got tens of thousands of those items and you can list them extremely quick, or they're, say, wholesale. Wholesale would be fine, too, to alleviate this, but I would also say everybody should tighten down their belts and, try and reduce your expenses just to be safe. You should do that anyway, even if nothing's bad going on, because every dime you save is a dime you're making instead. If you don't have to spend it on electricity and bills or something that you don't need, that means you're making that amount of money. That's profit now instead of an expense. Why wouldn't you figure out, I know this sounds stupid to some people, but I've got all LEDs in everywhere. We've got the most efficient lights, and our electric bill is like half. And we've got a lot of electronics. I've got some very heavy-duty lights running and some other things running and, servers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of juice running in it. Our cost is way down, way, way down. We have auto shutoffs for things, and this doesn't run in certain times because no one's using it and stuff like that. We turn off stuff. I know that, again, may seem petty, but $200 or more a month in savings times 12, $2,400. I mean, that's nothing to laugh at, and that's an honest, doable number for a lot of people out there if you're smart. Don't have TVs on. Again, that's petty stuff, but it all adds up. If I save money there, I save money here. I buy in bulk this, like packages and boxes and sleeves and things like that. I save anything I can get, anytime you can. You need to buckle down and just make sure that you're ready, because everybody is saying fourth quarter is going to be great. It's going to be decent, I think, but I think it's not going to be decent until the week before Thanksgiving, and I think it'll stay steady all the way past Christmas in the first quarter, was my projection for what we sell. I think there's still some, up until December 6th, I think there'll still be some sway on either side of the line. I think that things should improve. People relax and they let their guard down and don't worry as much around the holidays. So the week before Thanksgiving, I honestly think will be a little better. If it's not picking up by then, it might be a different story. But I really think, again, my sales are okay right now. I'm not going to complain, honestly. I'm not going to be ranting and raving and eBay's trying to screw me, because I don't see that. I just think they don't know what they're doing. I think it's just pure ignorance to what they're doing, and I think a lot of the slowness may be partially a little bit to blame. eBay may be 10% of it, because they don't know what they're doing with item specifics and searching, and they don't understand how buyers do stuff, and I really think that's what it is. Or they just don't care about the type of stuff we sell anymore. But anyway, we're going to cut it off here in just a few minutes. Let me see if I can get to one more single question. Clown Fist. Hey, how you doing? Wow, 20,000 reels of 16 millimeter film. Now, back in the day, I used to have a ton of 16 millimeter. I do have a old Bell and Howell from a school. I got at a school sale. I just went there just to get the projector, and it's got sound, so I could, take a shot of them. I've got one of those converters that does the film. You set it on the lens. Anyway, I'm not getting into all that, but yeah, I like the 8 millimeter better. We've got probably 1,500 8 millimeter reels, but I don't have anywhere near that in 16. I used to have 35 millimeter. We had entire feature films, 4-reeler feature films once before, and I've got probably about 200 pounds of clippings from 35 millimeter when I worked at a theater. But that sounds like a good assortment there. You might have spent the extra money. There is a 16 millimeter digitizer. It's expensive. I want to say it was like $1,200 last time I looked, but I don't get enough of them in anymore these days. I don't buy them, I should say. I've had a couple good offers I could have bought a library unit out that was all 16, but I didn't. Just because of time, I don't get to the 8 millimeter. Why would I think I'd get to the 16? But there's a lot of money to be made. We've sold some almost to the $1,000 mark in 16. Last good one I sold was a Max Senate unknown, unlisted. It wasn't documented at all. It's the only known copy of a Max Senate. We got like $460 or something out of it. It's just a short, like a 15-minute, 35 millimeter short we found. Good for you though. That's pretty cool. Mark, Texas Patriot, how are you doing? Well, thank you very kindly. Yeah, I always, again, I don't remember until I read it. Slam that thumbs up. I got 237 people in house as of right now, and 130 likes. Hey, Nick, how you doing? Nicholas Tracy. That's what the LBMA and Cornex are for with gold and silver. People trade derivatives of the silver and gold, not actual ounces, just like eBay with comics. Yeah, that's the same basic principle, yeah. I don't mess into that. There's derivatives, and there's derivatives of derivatives, believe it or not. And they tranche them together. I mean, call a broker, an uptown broker, and I'm telling you for sure that large number of them are doing collectibles, and that's eBay's driving the market. And at one point, they're going to pull their money out because traditional investments will be far better, less risky. The minute there starts to be some fluctuation and a major drop throughout the market with a 10 or 12% decrease in value on higher-end collectibles, they're going to probably pull their money out. And that means that could crush the value of anybody holding on to like $3,000 Black Panther, Marvel Universe 1, first edition rookie cards, which I've seen some selling for that. It's a common card. I've got like 17 Black Panthers in like mint, probably 9.5 or even higher condition, maybe 9.8. They came straight from the box, and it's in a storage sleeve. The whole set, we put them in there. So they're very common. It's just gone crazy because of speculation from Wall Street's money. They couldn't invest during the pandemic in traditional markets. The groceries were down. Gas prices were about the only one in the gas industry, and they're buying their stocks back, doing buybacks. So They don't have the traditional market options, so they went to us. They went to where they saw value still being created, which was in collectibles and stuff, and it's gonna screw us over at one time, I guarantee it. That's why Hasbro and HasLab and all that stuff's taking such a heat right now for their scam. I shouldn't say that. I won't get into. I don't want to get sued by Hasbro either. But that HasLab crap they're doing is that's part of the problem with corporate America, or corporations in general. In my opinion, it's greed. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make some good amounts of money, but don't be greedy. There's enough to go around if everybody was good about it. I don't have to buy up everything. I pass. If I'm out in there, I don't have. I don't want to mess with something sometimes, even if there's some good meat. I just won't buy it. I don't care. There's enough out there where I can. If I need something, I know where to go. I know how to get what I want if I need it. I don't need anything. I don't. Let's see where we at. Let me pop down one actual question here. Let me get to one more. My feed just jumped. Sassy Florida Girl, well, thank you for the $3 super chat. I don't know how I missed that. I didn't see that up on here at all. Well, thank you very kindly. I honestly and greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I will never mess with crypto. If it flips, it ships. To me, like NFTs are a scam as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a hoot how much the crypto stuff. I would never invest a dime in. I would never invest a dime in crypto at all. That's just me. I'm happy with everybody else making a lot of money, but I get asked on that. I've had people proposition me and offer to this, and I've had people reach out to advertise for them with crypto. I would never do crypto. From the minute NFTs came out, I told anybody I talked to that they're scams, and I will never ever buy an NFT. It's just a scam. Just like what's the monkey ones that are out there that have dropped in tremendous value, and the cryptocurrency with Matt Damon and all those people, all of them cranking out. Even Kardashian or one of the Kardashians or something was there, and they were, pump and dump. They'd push it out, everybody would invest the money, and they'd pull out, and they'd all come out like a bandit, and everybody else would get screwed over. I'm not into any of the crypto stuff. It's going to get regulated. Worse, government's going to come in, and it's not going to be like it was. I don't care what anybody says. I can't see government not coming in and cracking down on it. It's happened in Russia. It's happened in other countries. There's legislation going around right now. There's, so I would never invest in crypto. I would never sink any money into crypto. Yeah, I know people have made millions, but it's not for me. I don't do that. I just wouldn't do that. I don't risk. I'm not a gambler. And to me, again, I'm not trying to insinuate anything about if it flips, it ships or anything, but that's just not me. I would never recommend it to anybody personally. I get that. I get that asked all the time, including a couple times a week. Somebody will hit me up trying to get me to advertise for them, or they'll give me $3,000 to yap for 20 minutes on a video on my channel. I won't do that. I don't care about the 3,000. I could give a shit. I don't devalue what I do because I don't do it. I'm not interested. I wouldn't do it. Why would I advertise something just for money? I don't do something just for money because I could care less. I could make $1,000 at least extra to $3,000 every day of the week if I just wanted to put out crap advertisements for crap that I don't use. I don't even put out stuff for stuff I do use. Honestly, I know I've had some links, but I don't advertise or call out to them or anything. It's just not me. Yeah, nothing personal if somebody else is doing it, but I don't see crypto going anywhere. People have lost billions of dollars in crypto as of right now. Sure, you got in the beginning. To me, it's a Ponzi thing. It's like Avon or something, or one of those companies, in my opinion. It's musical chairs. One person's going to be left out at the end of the show and not have a seat at the game and going to be losing a ton of money. I personally know people who have lost tens of thousands of dollars. I would never do it. I don't go to casinos and gamble. I don't play blackjack or card games unless it's for fun with family and friends. I don't do anything for money like that. When we went to the casinos, I played just a few slots for the silver 2.5-ounce coins. We won 4 of them. We made some money, and then I left. I didn't play anymore after I got what I wanted. That's just us. I don't do stuff like that. Again, I don't care if somebody else does. It's just not me. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't care if somebody else does it. I'm just not going to do it or recommend it. I'm very adamant against the NFTs and the whole thing like that. It's not for me. And the market's not controlled, and I know how it works. I know I'm an IT guy too. I just don't care. I don't care about the blockchain aspect. Anything is breakable. And I know I've seen I've seen it all. I don't. Somebody will figure out a way to do anything if they want to steal or rob or scam somebody, and that's just how it always works. But hopefully that was helpful. I talked for longer than I said I would. No disrespect to anybody. I just say how I feel. It's just that's my thinking on it. I wouldn't get into any of those aspects of it. I would never risk my business. I would never risk an investment in there. I invest in the old reliable stuff, and I'm fine with longer term investments that pay off at a very decent rate. I'm not trying to make a quick buck. I'm not trying to, con anybody. I'm not trying to push something that I personally don't think is a good thing. If there's a lot of people out there that talk about Bitcoin and all that stuff, fine. I don't care. If they make the money off it, that's fine. Great. More power to them. Everybody has their thing, and it's just not mine. So, again, no disrespect. I've got a family member who does it too. My brother's into that stuff, but it's not me. But anyway, I appreciate it. I hope everybody is having a good evening, and it will do well on eBay. Things should pick up, as I said. I'm not really worried about that at this point. One last time, please slam the thumbs up before I go, and I hope you all have a good evening.